what's going on. So this is my first vlog. Starting off this thing called Starboard Park. And we're doing it specifically just so that we can see what's happening in the world and I can get my opinions out because my opinions are a little bit weirder than most people. So if you're tuning into my channel, this will be kind of the new way to interact with people that are out there. I will tell you that Jonathan Kuminga, for all his hype and for all the things that he potentially could bring to the table, this is his time. This really is his time. I mean, Steph is injured. I think Dre's kind of injured too. Not too sure. But Jonathan Kuminga, 7 overall draft pick out of the G League, had some severe minute restrictions by Steve Kerr. I don't really think Steve Kerr knows what he's doing with these young guys, and I just think he's a vet guy. I think he, for years, has figured out the key to success is to hitch his wagon, so be to the greatest player on the court, whether that be with Michael Jordan, whether that be with Tim Duncan, and now with Steph Curry. So I don't know if he really knows how to develop players or if he wants to develop players. I think he's an incredible manager when it comes to superstar athletes. I think he's really good at that. As far as developing players or taking a team that doesn't have the best player on the court and making them great, I don't think that's him. I don't think it's ever been him. I think people forget how much of an impact Mark Jackson had on developing the Warriors and building up Clay and Steph and Dre and giving them the opportunity to move forward. Because you remember before that, people would look at Steph and if he was on any other coach and he was trying to take those crazy three-point shots he was doing back in 12, 13, 14, he would have been benched. Seriously, he'd probably been benched, and they'd try to make him consort to whatever the day traditional point guard is. I mean, that's the truth, really. And it's funny because when you bring up Kuminga, I think the Warriors are doing the exact same thing that most coaches would have done to Steph to Kuminga. I think they drafted Kuminga with this incredible athleticism and opportunity to do a post game, but it's counter to that 3-point crazy shooting that the Warriors are known for, which is great. The whole league is going that way. But everything goes in cycles. And I think the days of just straight out 3-pointers is limited. And I say that only because you look at the landscape of the NBA and the era of the big man is back. Victor Wembanyama, whether it be this year or next year, is taking over the league. I mean, this kid's figuring it out fast. You got Joker in Denver. You've got Chet in Oklahoma City. He's not going anywhere. And then you got Cooper Flag coming in next year. So the big guy's returning, which is crazy because, Kerr doesn't like big guys. And he's on a completely different path than the rest of the NBA. And I think other coaches have figured out Kerr. I think they understand his system. He brought in Terry Stotts, which I think is a great move. Terry Stotts is fantastic. But as far as Kerr goes, he's sticking with that short veteran. I mean, it looks like almost he would have 5 point guards out there and playing like a rec league. Is what it looks like. Honestly, I don't know. But getting back to Jonathan Kuminga, I will say this is his time. I mean, this is his time. This season has gone awful for the kid. Really awful. I mean, you can tell that he's pressuring. He's probably thinking in his head, my God, I turned around $100 million and bet on myself, and I really need to come through because, he's from Africa, and I'm sure he's got a lot of people waiting in on him. A lot of people were saying, hey, man, we need you to come through. We need you to get that max. And he's probably made a lot of promises. And, I can't imagine being 22 years old or a young 20-year-old and going all the things that he's done to get to the league and to finally get that payoff, generational wealth, and, help a lot of people is what I'm thinking. So turning down, I don't know if it's true or not, but like $100 million contract, 120 from the Warriors on a contract extension on his rookie deal. Maybe that's the pressure. Maybe he's looking back now and he's saying to himself, did I make the right call? I don't know. But I'll tell you this, the opening two games so far as him as a starter has been an absolute dud. Absolute dud. He looks like a shell of himself. He doesn't look like he's carefree. He looks like he's afraid to not make a mistake. He looks like he's afraid to be aggressive. The devil me cry, the attitude of when you're young and you can never die, that attitude kind of thing. I think that's going away very fast. And I think he looks at the NBA and I think it's really hitting him right now. I think it's hitting him that this is a finite amount of time that he has to make money for the rest of his life. And that's not all his fault, really. I mean, I think if we had a do-over, think about how the Warriors screwed this up. They had the number 2 overall pick, which they got nothing for. They got GP2 back. I don't know, spare change, I guess, for the number 2 pick, which was Wiseman. And, that's a whole nother story. But number 2 pick in the draft, you got absolutely nothing from it. Then you get the number 7 and 14 lottery picks. And that turns out to be Kuminga and Moody. And I don't know what they've done with that. Thank God they signed Moody. I don't know if he's going to stay here long term, but Moody's such a good dude, man. Mr. Dependable. I like him. Kuminga, on the other hand, I feel like something happened between him and Kerr because, man, when you're in school, like in high school or parochial school or whatever, and you're that one kid who, for some reason, the teacher just does not like that kid, right? I feel like that's Kuminga, man. Like, for the first 2 years, he was just at a really tight rope, that just said he does anything wrong, Kerr pulls him. Kerr pulls him. Kerr pulls him all the time. And why? Why draft the kid? That's what I don't understand. Why you would draft this kid? But that being said, it's 2024 now. He's in year 4. And he's improved, but I hope he's improved. He doesn't look too good in the first 2 games. Like I said, I hope he's pressing. But let's think about what's going to happen. So Steph's out, predictable. Green's going to get hurt again. Melton's already injured. So all these people you brought in, there's a reason you got them. It's because a lot of them are injured, have injury problems. But, Buddy Hield's been playing out of his mind. But getting back to Kuminga, this is his time. We've all been chomping at the bit. Give the kid minutes. Give Kuminga minutes. And let's see what he can do. Because I think a lot of us just don't know what he can do. We've seen highlights where we're like, whoa, this kid, that's phenomenal. But I think we've also seen the pouting, the defensive mistakes, the overthinking. There's also like this attitude, this laziness. When you see him run up the court, he's just doing this little jog thing. And you can't be 21 years old and be the last dude to get down the court. You know what I mean? Draymond's beating you down there. Clay's beating you down there. The older guys are beating you down to the spots. You can't have that, man. You just can't have that in the league today. So Kuminga has to step up. He has to step up. With Steph out, we got the New Orleans Pelicans that are coming into town tonight. And Kuminga has got to play better. He has to. And let's say, when I say better, what does that mean? I would quantify that by just saying he needs to average 20 and 10. Really. If he got away with 15 points and 10 rebounds, I think that would be a success. But these little games of 2 rebounds here, 3 rebounds there, blah, 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 that's not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it, especially if you're not scoring. So we're going to find out what Kuminga is all about in probably the next month. We're going to find out. And I say that because if he continues to play the way he's playing right now, they put him in the starting lineup. They're giving him minutes. Last game, you could tell the Warriors were definitely trying to get this kid started. But he wasn't cutting. He was sitting out in the corner, wasn't being very active. And I think that hurt him. I saw, Kerr, as much as I hate the guy, I don't hate him, but you know what I mean, frustrated. Pulled him for a lot in the second half, and I can't blame him. What was he giving you? Nothing really. So maybe you just need to take a step back and just watch a little bit. But tonight's game will be interesting with the New Orleans Pelicans coming to town. He has to put up 20 and 10. He just has to. He's got to do something that shows he is ready for the big time. He wants to be that number 2 scorer. Well, he has to prove it now. And so far, he hasn't. And that's a shame because I'm pulling for the guy. I'm a huge Jonathan Kuminga fan, but I'm worried. I don't know if he has it. I just don't know if he has it. I mean, could he be a superstar? Yeah, he could be. Could he also be Kelly Oubre? Yeah, he really could be. So we'll know the next couple of weeks. So that's coming down the line. So what's that mean? So let's say he balls out. Let's say he balls out and gets 20 plus points, 10 rebounds. The Warriors are winning. He is establishing himself in the low post. His mid game's doing well. I think he's got a future. I think his role will increase, and I think he will solidify himself a nice role on the Warriors. Now let's think alternatively. Let's say he continues like he is right now. Can't hit a 3. Maybe he's hitting at 20% pop or something ridiculous. He still fumbles the ball when he tries to drive. He's picking up charges or, these kind of things that he should have figured out by now. If that happens in the next month, I fully think Jonathan Kuminga is going to get traded. He just doesn't fit on the team. I mean, if that's what you're going to get, you don't need him. You don't need him. I mean, he has a hard time playing the 4. He wants to play the 3, but when you give him the 3, what has he done with it? Nothing. So maybe it's an aberration and he proves me wrong. But if I were going to guess, just putting my guessing hat on here, I would simply say that Jonathan Kuminga is probably going to disappoint. And I hate saying that. God, I hate saying that. But I don't think he's... God, I hate saying this because I really like the kid. But if I were to put money on it, this is what I think is going to happen. I think Kuminga is going to disappoint with points. I think he's going to get frustrated. I think he's going to pout. That's going to give the excuse to Steve Kerr to bench him. He's going to get even more frustrated as other players start taking his minutes away. And let's give it up for Wiggins. Wiggins is really good ball, and that's surprising. But if you got Wiggins there, Steph's out, they're going to play pods, obviously. And then you're going to have Buddy Hield filling in. And then you're going to start seeing slow-mo. He's going to start coming in. And at the end of the day, you really got to ask yourself, would you pay this guy $100 million? I wouldn't pay $100 million, not for what I've seen today. And I doubt anybody in the NBA is going to pay him $100 million. So, maybe by December, the Warriors sit him down and say, listen, you're not a star. You're a role player. And we'd love to have you on this team, but it's going to have to be this role. I think that's the only way he stays on. Otherwise, if I were a betting man, I say he continues to disappoint or he puts up mediocre numbers or he's streaky. And what you got to watch for is a midseason trade because that's what I think is going to happen. I think the Warriors are going to do midseason trades. And if I were a guessing man, I think Giannis. I think there's legs there, man. And I would trade anybody on the Warriors to get Giannis, Dre, and Steph on the team together. I would. I would be like, hey, Milwaukee, what do you want? You want Kuminga? Take him. I'll give you Kuminga. I'll give you Moody. I'll give you Wiggins for the numbers so that those can match. We'll throw a couple first-round drafts. You want pods? I'll give you pods too. It's fine by me. And you get Giannis on this team. And then you fill it out with whatever you can fill out of them because Steph Curry, Giannis, and Draymond, that is a fantastic group. Is it going to win the title? Probably not. I mean, it's the best chance for them to win the title. But will they win the title? Probably not. And that's only because the West is stacked. I mean, the West, what you're seeing, this happens every, 15 years. And if you're old enough, like me, I'm old. If you're old enough, you'll notice that this happens. I mean, the last time it happened, it was, the Kevin Durant, LeBron, Steph Curry show. They Harden, all those guys, they took over the league. And who do they, the people that left were Duncan left behind, KG left behind, all those guys. The page turns. And we're at that point right now. You look at the league and you look at the West. You even look at the East. Very, very good players on this NBA rosters. Oklahoma City, man. Pressi's, what a job that guy's doing. I mean, could you imagine? You have Oklahoma City runs the table, right? They run the table, they win the title, and in the offseason, they get the number one pick and draft Cooper Flag. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Really, think about that. I mean, because they own the number one pick from the Clippers, and if the Clippers, they've been playing better, but let's say the Clippers just go to crap. Well, good for the Oklahoma City. I mean, God, I can't imagine them getting a Cooper Flag, but I can see it happening. I can see it happening. Would the NBA let that happen? Probably not. They'll probably put him somewhere on the East Coast, probably just to kind of balance stuff out. But if I were, I don't know. I don't want to say betting man, but Oklahoma City is well positioned. And let's just transition over really quick about some of the players that we see or some of the teams that are looking pretty good this year. I like Houston. I really like watching Houston. Houston's fantastic. Green is playing great. Sangoon, really good. God, they got a lot of talent on that team, and they're incredibly coached with Udoka. Um, I think Houston's a year away. It would not shock me if they make the playoffs this year. Not at all. They're fun to watch. They got talent. They have time. They have coaching. They have a big city. It's possible. San Antonio's right there with them too. I love Chris Paul and Wemby working together. I think that's a good thing. I think they're a year or two away. But would it shock me if they made the playoffs? Not really. And that's specifically because Wemby his ceiling is so high. And reminds me a lot of the great ones, like LeBron when he was like 18 and taking over the league. That's what Wemby's doing. And I think when he was at the Olympics and he had France right there before stuff went crazy. Imagine if Wemby wins that game in the Olympics, wins the gold against America's best, Steph, LeBron, KD, right? Could you imagine what the narrative would be right now? I mean, he probably is already in his head thinking to himself, I can play with these guys. I can beat these guys. So, how far away is he? Not very far. Not very far at all. He might be right around the corner, is what I think. So watch San Antonio. The Lakers. Oh man, I want to hate on the Lakers, but I got to tell you, Anthony Davis is playing some great basketball. I look at Anthony Davis and I look at the Warriors and I go, the Warriors are so in trouble because Anthony Davis, man, when he wants to play and he's not injured, and a lot of times that stuff's injured, but man, when he wants to play, God, is he good. And let's give it up for LeBron. I'm not the biggest LeBron fan in the world, but I do give respect where respect is due, and he's an incredible player. God, 40 years old. I'm 48, and I can't imagine running like that every day. I think my legs will fall off, but LeBron is putting it down. I think the sooner they get rid of the Bronny thing and just send him to G League and never see him again, I think that's the best avenue for the Lakers. Honestly, they should have never even drafted him. That's what happens though when you forget. Basketball is a game. It's about sports. It's about competition. It's not about entertainment. It's not about in some ways a what do you call that? Like a spectacle or I don't know, Korean drama show. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's not basketball. Who cares about LeBron? Excuse me. Who cares about Bronny James? Kid couldn't even start at USC. So there's this weird narrative that everybody wants to see Bronny James and LeBron James do well. No, they don't. Nobody cares. LeBron James is a 1 in a million talent. Bronny, he's an average player. He's short. He doesn't have the stature. He's been getting every advantage known to man, and he's still below average. So it is what it is. You play the little game. You're the first to have a father and son play on the same game. Good for you. Doesn't mean anything. I'm old enough. Remember when Ken Griffey, who was a real ball player, and Ken Griffey Jr., who was another real ball player, took the field for the first time, and that felt legitimate. And I think that's kind of the thing that I don't like about the Lakers is, it doesn't feel legitimate. It feels made up. It feels like it was planned years ago. And I think the casual fan sees it and they're like, yay, good for you. You got father and son. They got to do their thing. But I think at the end of the day, I think most fans will look at it and be like, this is just nepotism and nobody cares. And who likes nepotism anyway, right? You ever been on a team in high school or college or whatever, and you get the coach's son that gets unbelievable reps. He gets all the great plays and everything because his daddy's a coach. Who likes that? Nobody likes that, right? But if you earn it, like Ken Griffey Jr., and you're a legit NBA player, or Major League Baseball player, I think people want to see that. That's what they want to see. They want to see a Bronny. Let's assume Bronny wasn't what he is today. Let's assume Bronny had the same physical characteristics of LeBron, right? And he gets to USC and he dominates. I mean, he just is like, holy cow, this guy's a legit NBA player. One and done, going to the league, bam. And he gets drafted by the Lakers. And now it's Bronny and LeBron taking the floor together. That is a completely different story, right? Because people are going to be like, wow, LeBron is good. But man, look at Bronny. Now, this guy's really good. Or even as good. But that's not what you see right now. What you see is some little kid whose daddy was very famous and he gets to drive the Mercedes and act like he's the best thing in the whole world. And he earned it all himself, which I guess we can all agree it's not true. So what's going on with the Lakers? I think the Lakers are going to be a mid-tier team. Originally, I didn't think they were going to make playoffs. And I say they are going to make playoffs only if um, they're all healthy. If LeBron gets injured or AD gets injured, which is very possible, Lakers are done. They won't make playoffs. Um, so that's my view on the Lakers. I'm gonna have Jermaine on here, and he's a big Laker fan, so he'll talk to us a little bit about how great the Lakers are and blah blah blah. But I don't know. They're not gonna win the title. I mean, if you want to put money on it, go for it. Warriors playing maybe. Oklahoma City's fantastic. Minnesota, I don't know about that trade. I mean, God, if the reports were right that the Warriors were talking to get Cat, God, that would have solved so many problems. That would for both teams. Because I think Nas Reed is fantastic, and you've got Gobert there, who can man the center. He's not, he is a Defense Player of the Year, I guess, multiple times. But I think most people will say that he can be cooked pretty easily out in the perimeter, and it happens. But he's still a player, and he's still 7-footer. That's something Golden State Warriors don't have. So I'm a big believer in Ant-Man. I think Ant-Man, God, is that guy the kid of Michael Jordan or what? You ever hear those rumors like Michael Jordan, was banging all these girls, whatever, his last couple of years in the league, and he didn't even know what was going on, and he had kids from mothers, something, and they were like, oh, maybe Ant-Man doesn't know his dad, and he was. I got to tell you, man, sometimes I watch him, and he like bends over, and he's resting on his knees, kind of like the way Mike did. And there are moments, man, where he's standing around and he looks like Mike. I mean, just looks like Mike. And there are times where he gets the ball, and you saw this in the Olympics too, where he's like, give me the ball, get out of the way, it's time for me to play. And that's Mike, man. And for those younger generations never got to see Michael Jordan play, I feel sorry for you. If you saw Michael in his prime, if you were able to watch this guy dominate basketball, the conversations about, who's better, LeBron or Jordan? Nobody would pick LeBron. LeBron's a nice guy. He's an incredible player, but he doesn't have the dog, or he doesn't have the, the passion, the no surrender, I will beat you attitude no matter what it takes that Michael Jordan had. And that's why Michael Jordan's the GOAT, man. He's the GOAT. I used to hate Jordan. I didn't really hate Jordan, but it just because Jordan would whoop your team. He whooped the Warriors all the time, man. He whooped everybody. And you didn't have a chance. That's the thing that sucks. You know what I mean? You just didn't have a chance with this team. So anyway, getting back. So Minnesota, they'll make the playoffs. Will they win it? Probably not. Dallas, I like Dallas. I think that's an interesting squad. I'm happy for Clay, man. I hope he has a good career. I mean, who would have thunk of that? Clay Thompson has a better chance of winning a title than Steph Curry, right? But it's true. I mean, he is on that team, and all he has to do is be a shell of himself and just hit a couple threes like he did the other night. He will become a fan favorite. I mean, you got Kyrie there who's going to take care of the ball. You got Luca, who is just a dominant player, and you got now Clay just walking around taking those free empty, no look, excuse me, free open looks at the basket. He's going to get a ton of those. So we'll see what happens with the Mavericks. Who else? Memphis with Ja back. I don't really know much about Memphis. I know Ja's amazing. I really watched them play, but they'll probably make playoffs. Phoenix with Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant's biggest decision was leaving the Warriors. That was just the dumbest decision of all time. Not that it wasn't held by the media, who consistently tried to break up the Warriors. But he's on his own now, and he realizes that he's not a true number one. So, but he's turning around. He's playing good. I think they'll make the playoffs. Who else? Who else? Who else? Oklahoma City, New Orleans. I like New Orleans. We'll see what they do tonight. Um, Zion Williamson, man, that guy is so talented. Um, but can he make that next leap? God, he has it in front of him. I don't know. I don't know. I can see the big playoffs though. They'll be good. Who else am I missing? The Clippers. Who knows? Some of the Clippers. I don't know. God, just top of my head. But I will tell you this though: the basketball world is fun. This is a great season, and I don't know who's going to win the title this year. I want to say the Boston Celtics, but something in my head just tells me Boston ain't going to win. If I were going to put money on it right now, I'd probably put it on Boston. But it's hard to repeat, man. It is hard to repeat in professional sports. And so for only that reason would I not pick Boston. And there's something going on in Oklahoma City, man. I'm telling you, man, I look at this team. They're fun to watch. They're starting to believe in themselves. They're really getting experience. Like Jalen Williams kid. How many Jalen Williams they got? Like 15. I feel like every time they put on the screen, it's like a Jalen Williams was a different dude. Yeah, I like Oklahoma City. I'm actually pulling for them. Them in Houston, which is funny because I can't stand Texas, but I do like watching Houston. I think that team is a team to watch. That green kid is turning it on. Going back east, I think the Philly's done. Sorry, Jeff. I think they're done. Washington Wizards, good Lord. Who knows what they're doing? Miami Heat, I think they're tapped out of talent, although I think Coach Spo is the best coach in the business. Once he gets a player, God, could you imagine him getting Cooper Flag? That'd be awesome. Orlando's coming. Bocaro, that kid looks great. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be a very interesting year. So we'll see what happens. If we talk about going back to the Warriors, what the season's going to look like, I think it's going to be painful. I really do. I hate saying that, but I think they're going to be painful. I think Kuminga, I don't think Kuminga's going to have it. God, I hate saying that. I don't think he's going to have it. I think he'll get traded. I think there's going to be a big mid-season trade, and I think that's it. My biggest fear for the Warriors, honestly, is Steph Curry. I mean, have we seen the last of Steph Curry in the playoffs? I mean, he signed the deal with the Warriors, but what if the Warriors never make it to the playoffs again? Yeah. What if they get injured? What if he gets injured? And he's 36 now, 37, 38, 39. Does he keep playing or is he done and go join the golf tour? I don't know. If I were a betting man, I think, oh man, I keep saying that, but maybe he gets in and that's because the NBA's helping him. But he's not winning the title not with the Warriors, not the way it's currently constructed. I just don't see it. So that's pretty much it for my first podcast here. I'll work on the background and stuff, but this is more of a test to see what's out there. All right, we'll talk to you guys later, and you guys be good. Go Warriors.